All right. Good morning. Good morning. Woo, where'd my screen go? It popped away.
You're still
This
you're still there.
Chrome, this Chrome has been acting up where it just like randomly switches screens on me, and I don't know what the deal is. But anyway, okay. Good morning. Welcome everybody to the Saturday Morning Mastermind. I'm your host, Samantha Studebaker Carl. I'm here with my good friends Karen and Catherine and Dan, and today we are talking about how to remove difficulties from your life. And the reason we're talking about that is because we're discussing verse 63 of the Tao Te Ching as interpreted by Wayne Dyer in his book, Change Your Thoughts, Change Your Life, Living the Wisdom of the Tao. And we are on chapter 63. And so today, everybody come out and introduce yourselves. Say hey, good morning, and then we'll get this thing going.
Good morning, it's Catherine in Boulder, Colorado.
And good morning, it's Karen in Chandler, Arizona.
And good morning. This is Dan Sislik. I'm in Las Vegas, Nevada, where we have a ugly cold front coming through, and I'm hating it. It's cold again, and I want my sun back.
Oh, Dan. I get it totally. I really do. I mean, it was so wonderful last weekend. I got to sit outside and it was sunny and warm. And then today it's just all cold again. I mean, it's not cold, but like 40s, that's cold. So yeah, I like the warm weather too, but we get what we get and we got to roll with it, right? So, okay, so living without difficulties. Well, why don't we read this verse and see if we can figure out how to remove the difficulties from our lives? Who wants to read it?
I will.
All right.
Okay, the 63rd verse. Practice non-action. Work without doing. Taste the tasteless. Magnify the small, increase the few. Reward bitterness with care. See simplicity in the complicated. Achieve greatness in little things. Take on difficulties while they are still easy. Do great things while they are still small. The sage does not attempt anything very big, and thus achieves greatness. If you agree too easily, you will be little trusted, because the sage always confronts difficulties. He never experiences them.
These verses always get me when they say, practice non-action. We've heard that one before in some of the previous verses. And it's always like, how can I accomplish anything by doing nothing? It just seems like it makes no sense, right? And but at the same time, it's work without doing. How do you do that? I mean, what do you guys think? I think it's an interesting. I love it though, because I mean, we always end up figuring out what it really means. But what's your first thought on this one?
Well,
We're gonna have our conversation without doing anything.
that was a little trial run in case there are those of you who don't know how we run. You know, I feel that there's a division on the internet over many things. Republicans and whatever they call themselves, and Democrats and whatever they call themselves. But I'm talking about people who talk about grinding it out and people who talk about creating their lives. And I was on a mastermind earlier this week where the reading was centered around action. And it happened that the stand-in host loves to repeat words. And I was hearing him say action, action, action. And what is it when you do action? There's there's a word when you apply. Apply. He was saying apply, apply, apply. And by the time I got off that mastermind, I was practically spinning. And I really think for me, you know, as you get into the rest of the verse and it talks about applying gentleness, to me, that's an action. It's an action that doesn't necessarily come easily to me. If I, in the case of these puppies, these poopies, you know, I really hadn't been around animals much my adult life. When I was growing up, I did lots of things with primarily cattle, horses, sheep. But these, you know, there's just no way if you unless you're one of those people that, you know, you watch out for that are cruel to animals. There's just no way you can't see a group of squirming puppies, but what you want to be gentle, and you start cooing, and you start, you know, you just start softening inside and just becoming a different person. But it is an action. It you know, if you're in a setting where you don't want to be seen cooing and awing and petting and sweetying and all this kind of stuff, you can keep yourself from doing that. And there's just lots of things that involve the heart and involve the mind and involve the soul that we don't practice a lot, and that if we decide in our lives that that's going to be a priority, it takes. I also ran across two very distinctly separate quotes of Lao Tzu this week. You know, just across the internet, people saying, you know, the philosopher Lao Tzu says blah blah blah, and you know, there really are people who are practicing these. I guess we need to call them something else besides actions. But for me, they're actions that I need work on and help on. And frankly, at my age, I don't need any help to learn how to grind my life out.
That was I like what you said there, Karen. Um, I also am kind of like you, Samantha. I'm kind of at a because I think though I've had a little bit of this happen to me this week in how dealing with other people and how I could have reacted, or maybe you know, where it says reward bitterness with care, I could have responded maybe kind of in the same vein, and I didn't, and I'm still now trying to think of, you know, the best way to deal with this and still yet maintain, you know, the interaction between me and the other person, for lack of a better way of saying it. And so I'm trying to understand and see their side of it and why they might have attacked me at that moment. But then I'm also trying to just look at my side and see, well, what might have I done, or what did I do that might have brought it out to where I can maybe sit here and reward the business with care. So therefore going forward, I change how maybe I might react, or change whatever I did that caused them to speak out in that quick moment. And, you know, and being simple about it rather than, you know, getting all up back in their face or complicating it or making it worse. I think that's what I'm trying to do. And inadvertently doing it right at the time we're doing this verse. So it's kind of like, when I started reading this, I'm like, oh, perfect timing for this verse, because, I can maybe bring things back to a better resolution than had I just, you know, responded out of a me that has responded in the past. Let's put it that way. And so, but but the practicing non-action on this, where I'm not trying to just, it's kind of hard. And it's kind of, um, kind of put me at unease in a way, because it's not my normal me. So this is kind of new and dealing with this. But, like this, where in the book, in the chapter in the beginning, he says, so we must avoid the inclination to magnify tiny events or worries about a future that may never arrive. And then that maybe, I think a lot of times when we get in these moments, we tend to perceive what will happen or what's going to happen or what we think will, really happen. Whereas if we just kind of pull back, and that's what I'm trying to do, is pull back and let what really can happen, rather than me building into it. And then ultimately the thing I'm putting out there does happen. So, it's the, it's the little things that make all the difference in our world, and keeping life simple replaces the chaos. And I think that's some very sound advice there.
I like that you brought up interactions with other people, and that, a lot of times we have these relationships with people and we kind of build up in our mind what we think the person is thinking, or how we think they're acting, or we think their reason is, or we think this, or we think that. And when we pull back, like you said, and we kind of sit in the moment of right now, in this interaction with this person in this moment, is that then when we take all of that mumbo jumbo out that we think, or that we're trying to put on there, then we realize that the interaction really is not as complicated as we think it is. It's just right here. This moment is all that really matters. And when we focus on that, and then the next moment happens and we focus on that moment, and then the next moment happens and we focus on that, and we keep the peace in that moment. We're not so much keep the peace, but we keep our attitude of friendliness. As it said, it was like treat bitterness with care. And in that moment, we're being a caring, sincere person, and not worrying so much about what we think that other person is going to do or not do, or what they think or what they don't think. It's we remove the chaos, like it said. It's so funny how something so simple can make such a huge difference in our relationships and interactions with other people, because it's the moments that make the big picture. And when we're so focused on the big picture that we forget about the moments, then we have this chaos going on, right? Hey, Chris, I see you're logged in, but I can't see you or hear you, so maybe you hey, everyone, took a nap, don't have my phone today, just watching from my, gotta open it up so I can see the rest, from my computer. Thanks, glad to be here. Awesome, Chris, good to have you. Whoop, where my screen went again. I know you guys can't see what's happening on my end, but the screens are just like doing this weird flip thing.
That's why I love Mozilla Firefox. Just saying.
I was having that happen to me right after the last update or something, and I forget what I had to do. I think I just had to clear the browsing history and restart the computer or something like that. It wasn't a hard fix. But it's so interesting, like you said, Dan, how these verses tend to coincide with what's going on in the week or whatnot, and I do lots of calls during the week. And one of the things that we were just talking about yesterday is sort of the same topic. We were talking about brain hack, so I'll give you the brain hack that I gave them yesterday. But before I do that, I wanted to go back to something that you said, Karen. There really is there's two camps, the grinders and the manifestors or creators or whatever you want to call them. Funny thing is, though, as your business grows, it gets busier. I mean, there are ways to, I totally get what they're saying, and I can see how to apply it, especially to entrepreneurship and business from home, because I think about it like when, let's say maybe you just first get into a networking company and you've never been in one, and you're going to calls and you're hearing that guy or girl or whoever it was, that was grind, and so you think that's what you're supposed to do. So you kind of go out there, they call it ignorance on fire, and you're just like slamming everybody with what I call drive-bys, where you just link people in a private message, and you haven't talked to them in 3 years, and you just throw them a business link every 2 weeks when you chase businesses or whatever. But there's a lot of actions that you can take. Like you can start blogging, and you can start syndicating on different platforms, and you can start an email campaign, and you can do this and you can do this, and there's a lot of action steps that you can take, and that many leaders would recommend that you take, and tell you you're not going to make it if you don't take, actually. But if you can, first of all, figure out where you're at in the process. That's something that a lot of people don't stop to do. They don't stop to think about, like they just jump into all the blogging and all the stuff, but then they don't think about, maybe they already have hundreds and thousands of contacts that they can speak to. They don't really need to be on a prospecting campaign right now. They need to be on a talk to the people they already know campaign. So there's different, once you've been in it for a while, you learn to kind of take a step back, just like we do with life, and everything else. Take a step back and look and see, because what happens is you get so busy to where you have to reevaluate what you're doing. You have to step back and say, okay, what's being actually successful? What just seems to be spinning my wheels? It's great that I'm doing these blogs, but if I don't have the time to syndicate traffic to the blogs, that's kind of a waste of time. You really, once you get so busy that you don't have time to sleep, you have to think, okay, well, how can I switch these things around and get rid of some stuff and do less work get more done with less work, I guess, is long story short. And you find ways. There are certain actions that come with having a business. Just with having a life, we have to get up and do things. So complete non-action, like I totally get it. It's I guess it's great to have a day once in a while where you can just totally veg and not do anything. But then we all know the next day is twice as busy because we got to catch up with the stuff we didn't do the day before when we were vegging. So I think Lao Tzu did not have a cell phone, and and a team in Africa. But to go back to the brain hack, sometimes in the midst of trying to do all those things or learning how to do all those things, you or even if you're not doing those things, sometimes you just get stuck and you don't know what to do. You're just at this point where you're like, oh my God, I just don't know what to do. So there's lots of things you can do. One of the things I do a lot is just to ask God or spirit or my guides, whatever you want to call it, what do I do next? And they usually have a good plan, so that works. But one of the brain hacks that I discovered, and there's science behind it, and I think I put a link actually in the Mindset Mastery page on Facebook, but it's called the 5-second rule. And when you're stuck and you don't know what to do, or you find yourself doing those repetitive actions or having those repetitive thoughts, and you just need to stop and do like a pattern interrupt. That's what this is a pattern interrupt. You just very simply say 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And it actually stimulates something in the frontal lobe, the frontal cortex in your brain. And it lets you step out into action. And it's important that you count down and not count up, because you could just keep counting forever and never get to action. But, you know, like when we're kids and we're all lined up and we're going to do the relay race or whatever, you know, and sometimes they'll count down 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Like we're used to countdowns and action. It's kind of like how we're trained. And so that's a really, and I shared that actually twice this week on calls, because there's different groups of people, and people have come back to me and said, wow, you know, it really does work. So give it a try for those times when you're stuck in those especially like if you have some conversation, some stupid conversation going around in your head a million times, and and you got that little angel devil thing going on. Well, if I had said this, and you know, all that craziness, you know, just do this 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 and get on with it.
I love that, Catherine. That's awesome. I think that yeah, I think a lot of times we get caught up in this overwhelm of all the things we think we should be doing, and then because of it, we get locked into that what do they call it? Where you're just kind of frozen and you can't do anything because you don't know what to do next. And I think that's kind of what this verse is trying to tell us, is that, yeah, okay, you have all these things going on in your life, and you've got all of this stuff you think you should do, and this big long to-do list and everything else, but yet you got to remember, you can only do one thing at a time anyway. And so when you realize that all you have is this moment, and all you can do is one thing in that moment, then you just take that one thing. You take that baby step if you're at the beginning of your business, or you take the next step if you're in the middle of your business. And, you know, or you take that breather before you have a conversation with somebody if you're agitated or whatever. And, you know, because no great thing ever was accomplished by doing it all at once. It's those baby steps. It's those little actions. It's that making that one blog post. It's that syndicating to one place. It's the making one video. It's the talking to one person. It's those single actions that add up over time that create the big results. And even the people who are massively successful that talk about action, 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 that you can still only do one action at a time, and you have to give that to yourself. I think we all put so much pressure on ourselves to do so many things all at once, as if that's even possible, and it's not. I mean, it just isn't. And if I'd ever thought, you know, when we first started this Saturday morning mastermind, if my whole thing was all about, okay, I got to get out 200 videos and, like, you know, now, I would never have started, you know. But here we are multiple years later. We've got, you know, I don't even know. I think it's over 200 videos now. And I'd never thought, hey, I'm going to put 200 videos up. You know, I don't know. But, you know, I mean, you know what I'm getting at. I mean, even when I was doing like tutorial videos on YouTube and whatnot, if I had said, okay, my goal is to make, you know, $100 a quarter in ad revenue, okay, that means I got to put up 100 and some videos or whatever, I'd have been overwhelmed by that. But now they're there, I've done them, and, you know, if I want to, I can make more and just keep on adding to it. And then eventually I'll have 500, you know, who knows? But that's what it kind of comes down to, is it's those little simple little actions that I believe that's what takes the difficulty out of life. It's just making those simple steps each day. versus trying to get everything done right this minute. It's not happening. It's just not.
Yeah, because I think you just hit it right here where it says take on difficulties while they are still easy. That can also mean, relationships and dealing with people and stuff and things like that. Yeah, and like I said, in my case, I had to step back a little bit and kind of, I'm kind of reevaluating, but do great things while they are still small, because look at what's been accomplished from doing those little things over the last few years of doing your tutorials and doing the mindset mastery stuff. And, you kind of broke it down. You just said, okay, if I do this one and this one, not really putting anything out there as to how many you have to have, but look, a few years later, look at how many are out there now, because you just made it simple. And, you didn't try to do the big thing all at once. You didn't try to put the 400 out there like in a 2-week span. It took time, and thus you were achieving the greatness that this is working towards what it's going to ultimately be, whatever it ends up being. But we're in that process of building it up to achieve its greatness for what it's worth to provide to others. So I think, that, in this, we kind of, that's a good example there, while in doing this, we've all gone through periods and times and troubles in this, and we use that as a catalyst for what we bring here, but also plays a part in what we're all going through too, to help us through whatever we're going through and give us new, fresh ideas, new ways of looking at things, new perspectives, and how we can deal with our own lives, but how we deal with our own business, how we work with it to better interact with others too.
Yeah, I was thinking of another thing when you were talking there. Is my husband and I just recently started. We kind of we've been working on changing our diet, because we both need to lose a little bit of weight, and when I think about, okay, I need to lose 20 pounds. It's like, gosh, 20 pounds. It's like this huge amount, right? Or 40 or whatever. I don't know how much I need to lose. I just need to lose some. And but I told myself, I'm like, if all I do is focus on that, 30 or 40 pounds, then I'm just going to make myself frustrated and upset, and I'm like, okay, I'm just going to focus getting through this one day. And this is the day I'm going to work on, and I'm not going to worry about everything else. And some days I do great, and other days not so well. It's like I got off work last night, and I was like, White Castles. I'm like, oh, I gotta have White Castles, and those are like the worst thing I can possibly eat. And I'm like, I had this whole argument in my head with myself on the way home, and I did not win. I ended up getting them, and then afterwards, I'm like all mad at myself, and I'm like, okay, you know what? Okay, we ate something we shouldn't have ate. We just got to get over it and then take the next step. The next step is don't beat yourself up. Do that. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. I wish I'd have thought about that because it kept rolling over my head. You shouldn't have ate that. It was horrible for you. Blah blah blah. And and so, but this morning when I got up, I was like, all right, it's a new day. It's a new day. We just start over. We do this next step, and don't worry about what we did yesterday because it's already in the past. It's already done. So let's move forward from here and just take the next step. And and Wayne was kind of talking about not exactly the same thing, but he was talking about how he was doing a 90-minute hot yoga class like every morning, and nobody can do that just the very first time out. I mean, there's no way. You have to start with little steps, and like anything, I think he even mentioned in here somewhere about, or maybe I read something somewhere, maybe it's in the end here. I don't know, but either way, somehow it came into my mind about, when you start something new, if it's exercise regimen or whatever, is don't focus on running 10 miles, focus on running for 1 minute today. And then maybe tomorrow you run 1 minute and 10 seconds. And then the next day, 1 minute and 20 seconds, or, and that kind of thing. And then eventually, multiple days down the road, you're going to be up to 5 minutes, and then, 30 minutes, and then 100 minutes or whatever. And eventually you'll be running one of those, 100-mile marathons or something. I don't know. I wouldn't, but that's me. I'm not a runner. Maybe a bicycler. But the point is that, if we sit here and we just talk about the biggest, hugest thing, then all we do is overwhelm ourselves. But if we chop it down into little bits, then, we can take that first bite of the good stuff that we should be eating. We can take that first minute of doing exercise. And I think it was actually, it was probably a Facebook post where I saw something about that. Just do, 2 minutes to start with or something. But okay, I'm done talking now.
And we have that lull again.
I'm kind of wondering what happened with my brain this morning, because as I look at this verse, I realize there's no word gentleness in it anywhere. So I guess I probably took reward bitterness with care and kind of did a little dance, a little rain dance around the whole thing. I'm curious though. My gosh, my breathing is heavy. I hope you're not hearing it like I am. The end says, the sage always confronts difficulties. He never experiences them. I'd like to say something wise and wonderful on this, but I can't think of anything, but I would really enjoy hearing something on that.
Well, for me, I think on that, because the sage always confronts difficulties, meaning he goes at it, I think, through, like Samantha was saying, in the little processes, the little steps. He doesn't look at it as the big difficulty, but he just kind of says, okay, there's that, I've got to deal with it, but let me bite size it to where I can handle it, and I can employ all the things that I've spoken about up above, so that way I can get through this difficulty. And in it, he absorbs it, but he doesn't let it affect him for whatever the outcome will be. I think that's what I'm getting out of it. And that, because a lot of times we see these big difficulties and these things, and we get preconceived ideas of what it's going to be like to go through it, or what it's going to do to us, or how it might affect us, or will we change, or will it make us better. And instead of just taking simple little steps and going through it and letting whatever happens, and yes, it might, I think it will give us an experience, but I think it will be a different experience than what we really perceived or what we think it will be. And I think that's how he uses that to push himself forward to get to his next level, or whatever he's reaching for.
Yeah. And I think the sage recognizes that this is so funny. It's almost like deja vu on some of the conversations I've had this week on calls, but it's like a lot of people have unrealistic expectations. And I haven't read the book, and I hear it's a wonderful book and it's on my book list, but just the title, and I don't know anything about the book, so forgive me if I've got it completely wrong, because you should never judge a book by its title. We've learned that for sure. But this 4-Hour Work Week book. Okay, now I spend more than 4 hours a day just training my team, or being on a call, or doing presentations for them, or whatever. So my brain immediately goes, what? You can't have a 4-hour work week. What the hell are you talking about? But then my other brain starts thinking, oh, a 4-hour work week. Wow. Well, then why am I working 60 hours a day? And so then you get these unrealistic expectations that you should have a 4-hour work week when, since time began, humans have had to get up and basically work doing something from the time they got up until the time they got to bed. There was, in the olden days, or however you want to call it, when everybody farmed their own food and everything, you got up before dawn, you went out, you started taking care of the animals, you came in, you had your breakfast, you were right out working in the fields. It was, and even in this day, it doesn't have to be olden times, in this day, in many places in the world, it's still like that. Like, we're spoiled here with what we can do and not do. But in many places, you still have to get up and work from the time you wake until the time you go to sleep. And that's life. Like, that's just how it is. There's no unrealistic expectations about a 4-hour freaking work week. They're every day they're not miserable in their lives because they're thinking, oh, well, I should only have to work 4 hours a week and have everything handed to me on a silver platter, So I think the sage realizes that all those things happening, all those challenges happening, that's just part of life. That's just another thing that you go through, that you grow from, and you don't have to get all emotional about it and blow it up, like you said, blow it up into this huge thing. And like, I do this with taxes, you guys. So to me, taxes is like this huge thing. And for Dan, taxes is nothing. That's just, you're just writing down figures. That's what you do every day. You're just writing down figures on. To me, it's like this, oh my God, I can't do it. Like, I'll put it off till I'm filing extensions and all kinds of crazy shit. And, but I think the sage knows that, okay, this is all right. This is the next challenge of the day. We're going to get through this. We're just going to do this. We're going to take, like you said, we're going to take these actions. Which, interestingly enough, since the verse says, is talking about non-action, I think the sage actually, like you pointed out in the very beginning, even non-action is an action. And so I think the sage is more apt to take immediate action and simple action instead of, sitting back and blowing it up into this drama thing, before they try to tackle it, or waiting until, like, a sage can foresee some things coming and so can prepare a little bit. Or like, if you see that these two people over here are like not getting along or whatever, sometimes a sage can go in there and just kind of sprinkle a little fairy dust and bring it around before it gets into this full-blown fist fight. Moms learn how to do that with their kids. So, but I think we can cause ourselves a lot of unnecessary suffering that the sage knows better than to do.
Yeah, I agree, Catherine. I think that is the key. I think that's exactly what that part of the verse is trying to tell us, is that, it's we're not going to experience all that chaos if we don't build it all up in our head that it is going to be chaotic. If we just see the situation as it is and we start taking steps to deal with it, then we aren't caught up in all of that drama that we build up in our heads. We're just taking our action and going through and doing whatever has to be done. I mean, we think about some of the big disasters that have happened in the world, like Katrina and 911, and the tsunami that happened over in what area of the world was that? India or
Japan.
Japan. And then if we think about some of these huge major disasters, if we look at it as, oh my God, this massive disaster and all of this we have to clean up and all of this mess we have to rebuild and all of this, everything, the economic ruin and all the people that are homeless and the food and water and we sit there and we just think about all those things. I mean, it's overwhelming. And we would experience that overwhelming and almost helplessness, if you will, versus going and saying, okay, from where I am in my life, at my situation, this is what I can do, and just take one step and go buy a pack of water to put on a truck that's going out there or whatever, and maybe in our own lives, a number of years ago, this has been a long time ago, but I was working in a pet salon, and I got the call early in the morning. I'm glad it wasn't my pet salon, but I was working there with 8 other women, and there'd been a fire, and our whole salon burned down. Now, it was a good thing we didn't board pets there overnight or anything like that, and it happened in the middle of the night. And I could have been like, oh my God, I just lost all of my tools. I lost my entire livelihood. I lost this, I lost that. And then, crap, what am I going to do? I could just wallow in all of that. Holy crap, what the heck? And, instead, I just showed up and I got there and I was like, how can I help? What do we need to do? And so we started going in and salvaging stuff. And one person made a phone call to find another space. Another person made a phone call to the insurance company. Another person, we just started making lists and doing the things that needed to get done in order to make the next day. What are we going to do to tomorrow? How can we put this together so we can be working again tomorrow? All of those things that you just have to do. And it's the same thing when we used to live on the river and we would get a flood and we know it was coming. It wasn't flash flooding like in the mountains or anything. It was in an area where we would know ahead of time, and I could be overwhelmed by the fact that we know this water is coming. We're going to have 8 feet of it on our basement. I could sit there and stew about how upsetting that is, or I could take action to get the stuff out of my basement and put it upstairs and put it on the deck and get the things out of the garage that are going to be damaged by water. And I can get with the neighbors and help them do whatever they need to do, get their stuff up off of the, and that's what we did. And, I think that's the sage advice, I think, that we're going after here, is that, when we sit here and we worry and stress and we talk about all these things and we, just even with my little White Castle incident, if I sit there like I was a couple times in the middle of the night going, oh God, what did I do? Then I'm experiencing it, right? But if I just go, okay, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Okay, next time I'm not going to eat that, or I'm not going to eat it now. What am I going to eat next? I'm not going to eat anything for 8 hours, whatever. I'm going to drink water in the morning. I don't know. I'm going to go to the store and buy broccoli. What, what else can we do? All we can do is live in this moment right here. So
Well,
action is.
I was going to jump out and say, how much do we experience in life because of all the things we build up and put out there that we really didn't need to experience, and shoves out the real experience that we could have had we not. I love your hack, Catherine. I'm going to try and use that myself because I could so use that 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 thing, to stop myself and say, wait, okay, switch this around, stop focusing on that. Let's look on what I can do to get me there, because sometimes if we look at everything that's out there, that causes us to do where he talks about where we've been talking about non-action, how it kind of just, we've all sit there and go, what, non-action, how, but in a sense, taking that non-action of doing anything, doing the 5, 4, 3, 2, 1 to stop and get us to where we can go, oh no, just let me bite off little bits here and move forward. Then we can really experience the real experience of what truly could have been, rather than experiencing all the minutia and everything that we built up, that by going there, we allow that to happen to us.
I think Chris is sleeping again.
I certainly appreciate everything everybody said. I thought everybody in the world approached taxes like Catherine does. I thought that was the most common way. I thought she was making a big deal out of everybody's whole way, and then I was watching Dan, and I realized, oh, I guess not everybody. But it is funny how we can take something and we can just blow it all up and make it into something that we're afraid of, or we just don't want to do, or it's just a big deal. I had a little order I needed to make. I can order something every quarter, and I can order it in the second half of the first month of the quarter. And I don't know what the big deal is really about filling out a little bit of paperwork and looking at items and making a few choices, but I kept moving this paper around on my desk, and I'd find it underneath a bunch of things, and I'd think I need to haul it out, and I need to pay attention. And yesterday, after 4 p.m., I'm looking at that and thinking, if I don't do it now, I lose out. And so I thought, okay, I'm just going to block everything out of my mind, and I'm just going to do it. And so I go through filling out these little different things, and I get this message, and it says, we've had a problem finding your membership status. And I'm looking at this whole big deal, and it says, you can call this number. And I'm thinking, that's what I'm going to do. It says member ID, colon, and exactly what I put down. Check it 5 times. It's exactly what I said. So I call, and I just know it's going to just steer me off everything I'm trying to do for the evening. I get this gal on the phone. I always try to know the name of the person that I'm talking to. I find that comes in handy. And she said some name, I just couldn't figure out what it was. And I said, do you mind spelling that for me? It's just kind of important for me to know who I'm talking to. And she said, well, it's Tania. And I said, oh, Tanya. And she says, it's Tania. And I said, okay, that's beautiful. I like that. So we went on. And she said, now this might be the problem just right here. Did you do this? And I said, no. She said, well, this could be the problem right here. How about that? And I said, well, maybe. And as we went through it, she says, and your birth date? And I'm thinking, oh no, nobody should know my birth date. I mean, it's so far away. It's like in the Pleistocene stage and era. And so she says, that's my birthday. And I said, you're kidding. And she said, no, I don't know what's up with these birthdays. It's the second time today I've run into my birthday. So we're chatting along. I have something remarkable to say. I probably said it already, and I won't say it on this one. You'll have to get to know me better. But anyway, we kept going, and we came to the point where we had everything all ironed out. I was found, and on all this kind of stuff. And it was really close to 5 o'clock, and I said, would it be possible to finish this over the phone? I've only got 5 items, and I've got the numbers all listed, and everything's just fine. Oh yeah, that'd be great. She hadn't volunteered that, but that worked out. By the time I got off the phone, I was just feeling like I had, that movie, that TV show. I haven't thought about this forever, but the guy peers over the fence, and all you ever see are his eyes. Yeah, I felt like I'd met this neighbor, and it was just cool. So that worked out. Thanks.
Home Improvement is the show, by the way. Tim Allen.
I started watching the newer one that Tim Allen has going on now. It's the Last Man Standing, and instead of 3 boys, he has 3 girls in this one. I don't know if you guys have seen that, but
love that show. In
one of the episodes, his the character, the actress that played his wife from the previous show came on, and then And that was kind of funny the way they had their little interaction. But then another guy from that other show came on there, and he was like, he made some offhanded comment. He was like, yeah, how are the boys? And Tim is like, I have 3 girls. And he's like, huh, for some reason I thought you had 3 boys. It was one of those silly things. But anyway, thanks for sharing that, Karen. I think it's so funny. We tend to build these things up in our mind of, all of it's drama. That's what it is. We love drama. That's what we came here for, is to experience all the drama, right? But sometimes it's more drama than we absolutely need. We just make ourselves miserable with it rather than enjoying our lives. That, in the moment, it's a good time. We're having a good time right here, right? But if we sit here and we get all overwhelmed by it, then it just makes it no fun, right? So, I don't know. Final thoughts for today. Anybody?
I'm loving that little thing that Catherine said. I just love that because I've heard of pattern interrupts. I've been seeing them. I've been taught them before in some of the business stuff I've done. How, especially in videos and stuff, things like that, a pattern interrupt is awesome to help kind of break the, stuff up. And you see it even in TV and stuff and things like that. But to actually force myself to stop and get out of my own head by doing something like that, I just absolutely love it. And I will be forever grateful to you, Catherine, for that, because it's in a way mind blowing. Like, how can I not think of something that simple?
That's what I thought when I saw it too. I'm like, that is so freaking simple. How come I didn't think about that? But I wanted to see. I just saw something pop up from Christopher, so I'll read that. He says, yeah, Samantha, it's a lot easier moving stuff before a flood. I had to stop with 3 companies as of yesterday, made things simpler. I couldn't afford right now, but today I feel great. I also did meditation and hypnosis this morning. By confronting my difficulties by the end of March, I feel very freed up. I'm having fun. No drama zone. Whoop, whoop. That's awesome. Well, I'll give you guys, for my last thought, because I know we got to go, I'll give you another hack. This one's for you, Samantha. Next time you want White Castle, just transmute that shit, okay? It's called transmutation. You just turn it into whatever you want. It's as healthy for you as you think it is, okay? Don't do that every day, but you can get by with it once in a while. Keep it simple, you guys. I mean, Lao Tzu he didn't have a cell phone, but he had a lot of wisdom. And the wisdom that's the great thing about it. Wisdom is ageless, timeless, or whatever you want to call it. And isn't it amazing how, even though our times are so different, the same information just pertains to our very day to day, as it did centuries ago. So keep it simple, pull back, get the emotion out of it. If you can learn how to take the emotion out of your business, it'll be the best gift you ever give to yourself or your team. And thank God for chatting, because if you are tempted to just say something you shouldn't, at least it gives you a moment to think about it. And take a breath and pull back and do all those things that you need to do before you respond. So thanks, everybody. Have a great week. Love you guys.
I'll wrap with the middle paragraph. I just love this. This is priceless to me. Take on difficulties while they're still easy. Do great things while they are still small. The sage does not attempt anything very big and thus achieves greatness. Thank you all. I just love this group. You guys have a good weekend. And everybody jump on board next time and be with us.
Awesome, guys. I I'm glad you mentioned that, Catherine, because I've been thinking about that a lot. And, you know, what was it we talked about a while back? I don't know. We were talking about water in bottles and how when they put labels on the bottles and then they looked at the water under the microscope, how that it changed that the structure of the cells. Like if it said love on there, the cellular structure would be all crystallized like snowflakes and beautiful. If it said hate on there, it'd be all like jagged and scary. And you know, it's interesting that you mentioned that here, is because actually that was one of the things that I did last night afterwards, because I was so upset with myself for having eaten that. And I was like, would you stop it? It's all made from the same freaking shit. You know, it's all, I mean, we all think, okay, it's icky, it's yucky, it's whatever. And, but yeah, at the same time, I thought about that. I was like, okay, I just need to change what I'm saying to myself about it, for one. But then I also did, you know, we talk about Neville Goddard and what's the I can't remember the term of it, but it's like changing, dang it, I wish Sandy was here. She would know the term of how you go back and you rework it in your mind. Revise it. Oh, right, right. You revise it in your mind. And one thing that I did do, and I've been trying to make this kind of a habit, is no matter what I'm eating, is that I just see it as energy, vitality, strength, health, wellness, and all of that, and kind of give it like a blessing before I eat it. And I forget to do that a lot. But instead of that, what I did is I went back in my mind and I imagined myself blessing that food with that energy, health, strength, wellness, vitality. And you know, so anyway, that was kind of what I did to help to change that just a little bit, even though I still keep beating myself up about it. But I'm like, I gotta stop that. Just stop it. Smack it in the face. Quit that. And that's right, Dan. Okay, guys. So, I wanted to read one more thing. It says, one more little statement in here from the chapter. It says, look for the simplicity in what you call complicated by seeing that in this moment, it's not hard. And that's how you take the difficulty out of life and you make life much more easy and beautiful. So with that, guys, have a great, awesome, amazing weekend. And we'll see you next week on the Saturday Morning Mastermind. Bye for now.